All right, hello everyone. My name is BJ. I am starting my YouTube channel again. This time I think I'm going to try to be more consistent. I'm interested in doing something with my free time as opposed to watching TV and reading all the time. So here's what I'm going to be doing. I have many interests. I have traveled quite extensively. I've been to I think over 30 countries, somewhere around 32 countries, hoping to double that in the next 5 to 10 years. Um, let's see, I'm going to talk about some of my interests as well on this channel. I'm interested in history. When I was a kid, I was a huge history buff. I've always been into like Greek mythology, Roman mythology, African mythology, Asian mythology. As a child, I would spend many hours reading history books and mythology books, while the other kids were outside playing football and running track and baseball and whatever they were doing, making mud pies. I was either in the library or in the house with a book that or books that I had taken, checked out from the library, and I'd be reading in the house. It was so funny when I was really young. My mom would have to basically negotiate with me and my sister to get us to go outside. We lived in sunny South Florida where the weather was almost perfect nearly every day. Other kids were out playing in the neighborhood, and I, in particular, wanted to be in the house with my books. My books were my gateway to the rest of the world. Let's see. In addition to that, I have other interests like spirituality. I've been a leader in a local congregation for about 4 years now. It's been a little tough because of the pandemic, but I'm really progressive and very open minded and forward thinking. And I will be retiring from that in October of next year. So I've just about a year and what is it, 14 months left before I retire from that. And I like thinking about other people's belief systems and talking about those as well. Again, when I was younger, as a kid and a teenager, I remember reading books about Hinduism and Buddhism and Taoism and all the history of the Christian church going all the way back to the biblical times until up into Europe with Martin Luther, the history of the Ethiopian church and the Greek Orthodox church. All those things were fascinating to me. The histories of the tribal religions in Western Africa, in particular, the Yoruba and other groups in Benin, those are all things that I found fascinating. And I would love to talk more about things like that as well. Let's see, what's next on my list? Politics. Hey, I live in the United States, and as you know, if you live in the US, or even if you've heard about the United States, we are a truly, quote unquote, divided country. And I would love, especially since we're in this presidential election season with all the ups and downs, I'll probably sometimes come online and just talk about politics, my perspective, my thoughts, right? It's okay if you disagree. We won't always agree. I know that already because we live in a country where we have free speech and we all think differently. Even in my own family, we don't all think the same. So, in an ideal world, I would love a system more like they have over in some European countries, like I believe it's in Germany, where they have many different parties. And when the government is formed, a new government is formed, then the chancellor or their version of a president has to have a coalition of many different parties. That way, more of the people, right, more of the voting body gets their needs met, the things that are important to them. Here in our country, for forever practically, we've had just a two-party system. And yes, we have the Green Party and we have independents and we have some other parties. There's a great Working Families Party that's been out there for the last few years, right? But what happens in the US is any party that's not Democratic or Democrat or Republican, people call them all kinds of names. Even the Democrats and Republicans are calling each other names, right? I would love to see eventually the day where we have multiple parties that are viable so that more of the electorate's views and needs and wants and desires are represented in local politics, state politics, and of course, federal, national politics. That's something I'd love to see. Moving on from that, music. I love music. Oh my goodness. I grew up in a musical family. My mother, her mother, which is my maternal grandmother, and my aunt, which is my mother's sister, were some of the most amazing singers. My aunt is still alive. I think she's 84 now. Amazing singers. I heard them in the house and at church a few times. They had this harmony with the three of them, their voices, so unique. I've never heard that particular harmony anywhere else. And it's unfortunate that they didn't get to sing together a whole lot in public settings, but when they sang around the house, oh my goodness, it just kind of planted a seed in me. And I started singing as a young kid. I think my first solo in church was around 6, 7 years old. And I grew up, I sang in choirs in high school, had a great high school choral teacher. And then after that, I sang in an adult group called the Miami Oratorio Society. It was a classical group. So I was exposed to classical music. Along the way, later on, I had a roommate who was a good friend of mine for a while, and he really reintroduced me to jazz music, the greats like Ella Fitzgerald and Sarah Vaughan, Nancy Wilson, and so many others. And back in the day, some of you may remember, there used to be a BET show called Bet on Jazz, BET on Jazz. And I think for a little while, they even had a specific separate jazz channel. And I got introduced to many other artists that way. So yeah, I love all kinds of music. I love rap and hip hop because I grew up in the era where rap was introduced. We had LL Cool J and we had all the greats from back in the day. And then we had all the great lady rappers, the female rappers as well. You know, so many amazing things. Lil Kim, right behind me, you can't see it. It's on the leaning against the wall. I have a Lil Kim skateboard. Like, that's how much I liked her. So yeah, I love all kinds of music. I love world music. Because of my travels, I've been exposed to music from all over the place. I listen to what they call world beat music. I love people from, there's a woman named Angelique Kidjo. She's from Benin in Central West Africa. Love her. I've been following her for about, I'd say 20 or 30 years now. So yeah, love different kinds of music. Let's see, art. I love art. You can see some art right behind me. That is a painting by a local woman who did that painting, and I bought it from a locally owned shop. So I'm really into art. I love sculptures. I love paintings. I've had a privilege of going to the Louvre. I was in Europe on business, in Paris on business about 7 years ago, and I was there for about 5 days. 3 of the 5 days in the afternoons I spent in the Louvre. I was in my own heaven. It was like paradise, right? Of course, I saw the Mona Lisa, but there were so many other things like the Egyptian sculptures and statues, etc. The Middle Eastern artifacts they had. I'm an art lover, so yeah, I'd love to talk about art sometimes on this channel. And then let's see, fashion. I like fashion. Now, when I was younger, I was like into like more serious fashion. Now I'm older. As you can see, I'm wearing a Miss Piggy shirt. It's from Supreme. It came out, I think, this one debuted a few weeks ago. And I know some people are like, oh, Supreme is dead. Well, maybe it's not as popular as it used to be. But when they come out with something that I like, I still buy it. Because I follow my own drum beat. I don't follow what other people like necessarily. Yeah, we all have some things that other people like that we buy or have interest in. But even when I was a teenager, I was always unique in my style and my presentation. So I'm pretty much still that same way. So I may occasionally talk about some things that are happening in fashion. Not always things that I would wear, but things that I've seen. Like sometimes I watch on YouTube the fashion shows when they have like, Fashion Week in New York or Paris or Milan. And some of the stuff is amazing. And then some of the stuff I'm like, are these designers like gagging us? Are they trying to get over on us? Like, this can't be real that someone's going to pay $5,000-$10,000 for this contraption, right? So I may talk about fashion sometimes. And then finally, my biggest interest, people. I love people. My mother always said when I was a child that I have the gift of gab, meaning that I can talk to just about anyone on just about any topic. Because I have many interests, I don't limit myself. I can talk to people from other countries. And because I grew up in South Florida with people, with immigrants and recent migrants to the country from different nations, I have no problem understanding people with what we call a heavy accent, right? So I can sit with people from Spanish speaking countries, Asian countries, uh, Eastern European countries, etc., all over Africa. And if they speak English, it doesn't matter how heavy the accent is, I can typically understand it. And that allows me to engage in conversations with people who have different perspectives, different backgrounds, different beliefs. So I'll sometimes bring those topics in as well. So I haven't decided what I'm going to call the channel yet. I was thinking something like Let's Talk, but probably someone out there on YouTube has already done that. So, hey, if any of you have any suggestions or any thoughts about what you'd like to see on the channel, initially it's going to be very broad, like I said. Maybe over time, as I sort of define more of what the audience likes, what you guys like, and more things that I want to talk about, we may sort of narrow down those topics. But initially, I'm going to allow myself to just come on here and speak freely about things I'm interested in. So I hope you all are going to take this ride with me. I'm hoping to stay serious and focused on this time. I'd like to upload probably 2 to 3 times a week. Maybe 3 times a week I'm going to aim for, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Don't hold me to that. And the videos will be somewhere between 10 and 12 minutes, so I won't take up your whole day or your whole afternoon. But I just want to get into this and share my perspective. Sometimes in this contemporary world, people think that if you're over a certain age that you don't have anything to contribute. But fortunately, just a few minutes ago before this, I watched a guy named Kevin Kolb on YouTube. And Kevin, I think he said he's 63. And he talked about how much we of a certain age have to offer to the world. So here I am. Like, comment, and subscribe. Leave some comments. Tell me what you like. Tell me things you want to talk about or have me discuss. Tell me things you want me to get my perspectives on, and we'll see how this goes. I'm hoping it's going to be a fun ride. I know there's sometimes will be controversy. Don't worry about that. I was literally born into controversy, and maybe I'll tell you guys that story one day. So take care, and I'll talk to you real soon.